Hey, it's AJ here, otherwise known as SR Shadow or DFR Shadow on Gran Turismo 7. And today you're going to watch race 1 of the Nations Cup. Now, this is the official season, and I was a little bit afraid of this one because I hated the car. I really struggled with it during practice. I spent about an hour and a half trying to get a decent lap time in. So I knew that maybe a top 8 would be the best that I could get. Well, you'll see that I went from hero to zero and somewhere in between throughout this race. So stick around and watch the carnage. So stick around and watch the excitement anyway. We begin the Nations Cup with qualifying, of course, and I've already done the out lap and a first go at a qualifying lap. 2:23.00, not too bad. So I'm trying to put together a really good lap here and just go a little bit wide on turn 1, kick the back end out, and I think it's all gone, but actually this ends up being a 0.3 of a second advantage. Now, for whatever reason, I just couldn't hold it, and I ended up in a disadvantage of 0.069 heading into the back 3 corners. And running wide, this couldn't really go much worse, to be fair. Managed to slam on the anchors and get into the chicane at the final corner pretty well and get a decent exit. So I'm hoping that I can now cross the line and at least slightly improve my time. I'm 5th already, maybe I can move up, and sure enough I've moved up into 4th with a 2:29.9. But in the end it's only good for 6th position. EERIEISS and Tito are ahead of me where I used to be, so hadn't I had those errors, then potentially could have been in P4, maybe P3 at 0.5 better. So we head into the race and we're going to start 6th. Not a bad position, especially if I want to be top 8th. Now I've looked at the Southern Hemisphere. The guys there were starting in 2nd with traction control 1 and got a pretty good launch. So I've got that in my mind, and there's a pretty short window to be able to set it. So here we are at the very first race of Season 1 Nations Cup, representing Poland and starting from 6th. Let's see how this start gets on. So here we are, lined up on the grid, people flashing their lights. You can see that there's 5 cars in front of me. I'm on the right hand side now, and traction control run, 1 2nd gear, and launching it. Pretty good launch, and I seem to make ground immediately, so I know that I should be able to get into the first corner relatively well. I'm thinking about here, there's a lot of open space on the inside, so keep it tight. Luckily Tito bounces into EERIEISS and manages to get me just that little bit of a gap that I can sneak on through. So I'm just sneaking up the inside here. Tito tries to split difference, and a little bit of contact puts me a little bit wide, but nothing too bad. And I managed to finally get through. I'm already up to P4. That's a really good result after a bit of a poor qualifying, really. So probably where I should have been, and now really it's just up to me to pull away. I've already managed to get a bit of a gap, and I'm trying to chase down the leaders, but I might just be out of slipstream range here. So GD Design and Luca ahead seem to be fighting, so I'm hoping that they're going to be fighting and I can maybe pull up on them. So heading into the hairpin here, I'm maybe hoping that they have a little bit of contact and I could capitalise on that. So a little bit of a late break here, chuck it down into 2nd and really keep it tight, trying to follow GD Design in, get a half decent exit, and I've really caught up to them now. Only 0.3 of a second. I've got 1.1 seconds behind, so I'm in a good position here. This has been a really good start, so may it continue. GD Design and Luca are still arguing over that 2nd and 3rd spot, so they just push each other wide. I sneak up the inside here, and now I'm into 3rd. This is great. So try and really get a good exit here. Luca somehow manages to keep it tight and a good exit, so he's going to be following me. Same rivalry, so we're basically teammates, but I can tell you there's going to be no love lost here. There's definitely going to be some fighting, so go through the sweeping left corner as fast as I can. You can see here Luca actually taps his brakes quite early, so it looks like he's going slow in, fast out. I managed to make a half decent exit there, but he just nails me under brakes, and I just didn't anticipate him being that close, and I've made contact with him more than him making contact with me. I just didn't leave him enough space, so there's a little bit of my bad, but I'm just going to follow him down the main straight and hope that I can keep right on his bumper. He's a pretty fast driver, so I'm thinking he's going to carry a lot of speed through the S's. Just seems to be a little bit slow here in braking, and I've just tapped him 3 times and I've tapped him off. This is, like...
Fatality.
Yeah, I just didn't mean to do that at all. And then target fixation happens. I watched the car in front dip their left wheel off. I did the same thing. You can see here, it's just such an idiot move, and I ended up getting a penalty. Like, it couldn't get much worse, really. Now, I went from definite hero to 0. I'm in 3rd place. I've managed to pick myself up a 0.5 second penalty. That's just fantastic. So, I know that I've got to pull a gap on the guys behind, but I really can't with the Slipstream. There's 0.3 of a second, flick the hazard lights on. I realise I'm in their Slipstream, so I get out of their way. Hopefully I don't get nailed too badly. Pull back inside Axaxia, if that's how you say the name, I don't really know. And just try and get the Slipstream and late break into the S's before the main straight. So not a bad recovery from a bad situation. So in 3rd, now in 4th, but right on the tail. So this is kind of how it progresses through the lap, just chasing down Axaxia and keeping in their Slipstream, trying to get down the back straight. Going to do an outside-in manoeuvre here and see if I can't get him through the S's. Doesn't seem to be a bad manoeuvre. Really late under the brakes, trying to turn in extra wide. This time don't hit him like I did with Luca. And I managed to make a half-decent exit. So I have to say, though, and here's my excuse for later on in the race, and maybe even now, I just wasn't very good under the brakes into the S's. I didn't have much confidence. My pedal setup isn't the greatest for consistency. I'm using the T300 RS wheel, and the pedals just reset themselves effectively. Coming out of the S's, I'm just really inconsistent with picking up 3rd gear and wheel spinning too much or not enough, and I lose time. So you can see here, even though I made a gap, then Axaxia has made that all the way back just on the last S's there. So again, I go defensive, and I'm trying to get through this first sweeping right combination as well as I can. I've just gone a little bit deep. He's come up the inside, back on the rear quarter. I know he's there. I'm giving him a little bit of room, but trying to squeeze him as well, trying to get back into my rhythm, into the series of S's that it's all about rhythm. If you're off rhythm, you're going to ruin your timing through here. So I'm just a little bit out, and he's up the inside, and he's just gone a little bit advantageous, pushed me wide, and I'm just trying to hang on now. And I know that coming up he's going to be in my Slipstream, so I have to brake late. I'm going to have to brake late into the sweeping right and not go too deep. So sure enough, I go too deep. And now I'm under all sorts of trouble. EERIEISS is closed up on us, and Axaxia is up the inside. EERIEISS gives me a little bit of a tap, which gives me a little bit of an advantage, thanks mate. And I'm able to get in the inside-ish on the hairpin, but sweep right to the outside. EERIEISS comes up the inside. I managed to get a good drive out, and now I've got EERIEISS behind us. Now, those of you who don't know, well, you probably do know, Rory Alexander has quit his job, and this is what he does full time. So he is a really good racer. So my nerves are a little bit shot here, and I need to keep him behind me. So I'm trying to do the best job that I can do in terms of holding him off. I'm pretty good at following people and beating them, but when I'm out in the front by myself, I just find that I'm a little bit slower than what I need to be, and I suffer on corner exits, good on corner entry. So I know that this is going to be tough. Now EERIEISS pokes his nose up, and I just chop it off. Like, it was a pretty ambitious move. You can see here I've basically gone drifter mode and need some GPS to get out of the corner. laid on the brakes and I'm into the S's, and I've managed to hold the position and even just get a little bit of an edge compared to being bumper to bumper. However, awful exit, and look what happens. EERIEISS is literally next door to me. How did that happen? Oh, can't believe it. I've just ruined my exit and EERIEISS has got third place. So fair play, absolutely fair. Just drove around the outside, feel a bit embarrassed to be honest. So now it's all chase mode. So for this lap, basically it's all analysis. Where is EERIEISS slower? Can I do tighter lines? Am I faster on exits or entries? You can see there that I managed to get right up on the inside of him. Well, not quite the inside, had to back out of it a bit. But I know that I can get some good corner exits through the S's. And I know that he's a little bit slower here from just the timing in the rear when he was following. So I know that I can do some half decent in the first part of the lap. Now the second part of the lap is where EERIEISS tends to be a little bit quicker, gets really good corner exits. Not so much entries, but exits. And you'll see here he just powers out of the corner, pulls a little bit of a gap, and he's up into the hairpin. So I know that I'm better under brakes and can maybe do a dive underneath brakes. It's always a little bit dodgy. See, he goes a little bit wide, I go nice and narrow, right back on him again. So not a bad exit, but not the greatest either. So you can see now I'm really starting to think about, if he's in third place and I want to be in third place, how am I going to get him? So really I've just got to keep tidy for the rest of the lap. You can see here just 0.2 of a second. He's going a little bit wide and a little bit deep on some of the corners. Manages to get a half decent exit out of those corners though, because he's kind of squaring it off. Maybe going a bit deep, turning in sharply, and then off he goes. The benefit is I get a slipstream and he doesn't. So all the straights I'm going to get him on that. And I know he's not the quickest round this particular corner, although he takes this one quite well. Looking back on the replay, you can see he actually changed down into fourth, whereas I kept it in fifth, and it tended to hold a bit more speed through. And this is where he nails me. Absolutely. Look at that. 0.5 of a second has now grown to 0.8 of a second. 0.3 in just 2 corners. And a lap later, I'm having to play catch up. So I've kind of learnt from how he went through that corner, laid on the brakes in, and get a better power out by holding in third gear. So I do that. And lo and behold, it's better. I actually gain a small amount through the middle part of the corner, lose a little bit on the exit, but I'm in a slipstream, overall a bit of a gain. So now we're on the final lap. I've had 1 lap following closely and learning where he's faster. He's put in a stonking penultimate lap, and now we're on the last lap. He's under a bit of pressure, but it's up to me to pass him. So all he has to do is drive some good racing lines and defensive, and it's up to me to get past him. And that's a hard thing to do on Suzuka, because there's not that many places to pass. So you can see here I'm trying to keep it a little bit tighter and try and get some decent exits.
Round 1.
Now you
Fight.
can see here I've got a good entry, but he's getting a better exit, so I'm just suffering a little bit. Here I know I'm a bit quicker, and sure enough he goes a bit wide. Looks like he just backs off the fill just a little bit, and I managed to ping it up the inside. So here we go. Can I hold it? No, I can't. I knew he was on the inside. He kind of had the line. I've got to give him racing room and make sure that we actually make it through the race, right? So give him a little bit of room and back up into the hairpin. Now, can I take him on the inside or the outside?
Final
He does a really
round.
nice job of
Fight.
defending the line. I go around the outside, hoping for a switchback, and I just don't get the traction out of the corner. It's really hard in these cars to get a decent exit. Front wheel drive and you're turning, not the greatest combination. So, now we're on to the last part of the lap. Now, I know that I've got a good slipstream advantage and I'm not necessarily going to be able to pass here, so I'm just going to follow as closely as I can, even if I get really close to his bumper. I want the slipstream, and I'm going to have to do the last chicane dash. Basically, try and outbrake him. So it's all on. EERIEISS, I'm trying to come for you. So let's see how we go. We've got to make a really good, fast sweeping left. Not too bad. EERIEISS does a really good job. We're about equal speed. I'm just going to have to wait for his brake lights, try and do a fraction later. I'm round the outside. I'm in second gear. I've just wheel spun. Oh, I kind of threw it away. I mean, I probably wasn't going to drive around the outside of him, but I didn't change gear when I was supposed to. Change into second to slow the car up, go into third. But never mind. Fourth position. This is a really good result. One behind EERIEISS. It's a great result coming from sixth, raising 2 positions, and I've got 246 points. My highest score that I've got, and I'm really happy with that.
Shadow did great as well. He did brilliantly.
EERIEISS gives me the best compliment I've ever had.
He did brilliantly.
Oh, yeah!
Thanks, mate.
GG, Shadow. GG.
GG to you too, mate. GG. If you liked what you watched, then hit the like button. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and watch out for the next instalment of round 2 of the Nations Cup. Catch you later.